Good afternoon. You're very welcome to the program. You're listening to Apna Radio, broadcasting at 93.9 Dublin South FM. Your own local broadcaster, SIRAJ ZAIDI, is here until another hour, and it's at 3 o'clock. So I'll be here until 4 o'clock local time, and indeed India time 9:30. If you're tuning me in there from 8:30 to 9:30. So this is your own local radio, broadcasting every week at 93.9 Dublin South FM. This is, as I said, news and entertainment and whatever is happening in the world. I try to summarize that in an hour, which is a big challenge, actually, if you think about it, to telling my listeners what's going on in the world in 1 hour. But there you go. I have a news item lined up. And I have the other contributors from London they are also ready to roll their view. And of course, I have some fantastic, addition to many things that is going on in the world today. So without further ado, I will take the news of the week. And Charmaine is here in the studio. So Charmaine, you take it away. News of the week.
93.9 Dublin South FM. On India this week, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has appealed to Indians to revive working from home, buy less gold and limit foreign travel to deal with a surge in global energy prices because of the continuing crisis in the Middle East. Modi said the austerity measures, reminiscent of the COVID era, would reduce India's fuel use and help save foreign exchange. India imports 90% of its oil, and its crude bill has seen a multi-billion-dollar spike since the US and Israel's war on Iran, with the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow Gulf choke point, shut for more than 2.5 months now. Analysts described Modi's appeal, made at a public event in the southern city of Hyderabad on Sunday, as the most drastic so far. Patriotism is not only about the willingness to sacrifice one's life on the border. In these times, it is about living responsibly and fulfilling our duties to the nation in our daily lives, Modi said. In the current situation, we must place great emphasis on saving foreign exchange, he added. Urging people to use public transport such as the metro, Modi suggested people carpool to conserve fuel. He also asked farmers to reduce use of fertiliser by half. The effect was visible on Indian markets on Monday. Analysts say Modi's comments was one of the reasons the benchmark Sensex index fell more than 1,000 points in early trade amid fears of prolonged economic disruption. India has so far avoided raising petrol and diesel prices at the pump, despite mounting pressure on state-run fuel retailers. But the prolonged conflict and disruption to oil supplies have begun to strain the broader economy. The impact has been visible in a number of industries, with hundreds of thousands of jobs at risk in factories that make glass and plastic products and tiles. Dwindling fertiliser supplies have raised concerns about lower farm produce and higher food prices. But the effect has been most stark on the Indian rupee, which has hit record lows in recent weeks, increasing the cost of imports and adding pressure on inflation. The cancellation of a crucial exam held earlier in May for admission to medical colleges over allegations of a paper leak has sparked protests in the Indian capital, Delhi. The National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test, undergraduate, known as NEET-UG, is the gateway to studying medicine in India and is required for joining medical colleges across the country. Nearly 2.28 million candidates wrote the exam on the 3rd of May at more than 5,000 centres across India. But within days, allegations of a paper leak sparked anger amongst students and parents, with protests and political backlash mounting through the week. On Tuesday, the federal government's National Testing Agency, NTA, which conducts the exam, said that based on its findings and an ongoing investigation, the present examination process could not be allowed to stand. Fresh dates for a retest have not been announced yet, raising concerns among students and parents over possible delays to the admission process. Indian media reports suggest investigators believe the alleged leak may have originated in the western state of Rajasthan days before the exam was held. A senior Rajasthan police official told news agency ANI that they were looking at a guest paper, which was allegedly circulated ahead of the test. A guest paper is a set of questions that teachers or coaching institutes predict could appear in an exam based on past papers and exam patterns. The official said that the guest paper this year contained around 410 questions, about 120 of which are said to have appeared in the chemistry section of the actual exam. The case has now been handed over to federal investigators at the Central Bureau of Investigation. The NTA has said the decision to cancel the exam has been taken in the interest of students and in recognition of the trust on which the national examination system rests. In less than a month from now, India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau is expected to release its final report on the crash of London-bound Air India flight AI-171 that went down seconds after takeoff from Ahmedabad in western India on the 12th of June 2025. As the world awaits the findings on the devastating tragedy that claimed 260 lives, a cascade of incredible challenges has deepened the crisis at Air India. A leadership vacuum mounting financial losses, airspace closures, and a Middle Eastern fuel shock have put the carrier's ambitious turnaround into question. A spate of recent incidents have also cast a shadow on the safety and operational track record of the airline. Last month, Air India's Chief Executive Officer, Campbell Wilson, resigned mid-term as losses for the year ending March 2026 reportedly hit $2.4 billion. Air India is currently the biggest loss-making entity within the Tata Group, which took over the ailing carrier from the government in 2022, and a point of growing consternation for the Tata board. According to local media, the board met last week and is said to have discussed several cost-cutting measures and warned staff of tough times. The arrival of senior Singapore Airlines leadership at the group's headquarters in Mumbai City in April, meanwhile, sparked talks of the latter deepening its involvement in the beleaguered carrier. Singapore Airlines is a 25.1% shareholder in Air India. Last year, India's aviation regulator also uncovered 51 safety violations at Air India as part of its annual audit of the country's airlines. 7 safety-related lapses were of the highest level. Experts say the impact of the events of today, including high fuel costs, currency depreciation and route closures, will also be felt more acutely in the months to come. The ongoing conflict in the Middle East was a chance for Air India to make a greater dent in the international market, given that the stranglehold of the Gulf carriers had weakened. But it is a missed opportunity given that availability of aircraft remains a big constraint for the airline. Going ahead, what the final investigation into last year's deadly crash potentially reveals will also determine how damaging the consequences will be for the airline and its reputation. The United States has said it was imposing visa restrictions on 13 people linked to Indian online pharmacy KS International Traders for selling counterfeit prescription pills laced with fentanyl. The Mumbai-based company's website, as listed in US government records, could not be accessed. No names or contacts of its senior executives were available. India's foreign and health ministries did not immediately respond to requests for comment. KS International Traders generated revenue through trafficking in fentanyl, which President Donald Trump has designated as a weapon of mass destruction, the State Department said. Fentanyl is a powerful synthetic opioid used for pain relief, but it is tightly restricted in the United States because of its high potency and its role in a surge in overdose deaths linked to illicit use. Illicit fentanyl is killing too many Americans. Those complicit in poisoning Americans will be denied entry to the United States, State Department spokesperson Thomas Pigott said in a statement. This is not the first time that the US government has pulled up KS International Traders. The online pharmacy, along with 2 Indian nationals, was sanctioned last year for supplying counterfeit fentanyl-laced pills. The company sold hundreds of thousands of counterfeit prescription pills containing illicit fentanyl to people in the United States, harming families and communities nationwide, the State Department said on Tuesday. The United States last year announced a new visa restriction policy aimed at stopping the flow of fentanyl and other illicit drugs into the country. And finally, when Indian model Bhavita Mandava arrived at this year's Met Gala, the reaction to her look was unusually divided. From a distance, her Chanel outfit looked disarmingly simple, a sheer zip-up jacket and what appeared to be a pair of low-slung jeans. Around her, the usual theatre unfolded, sculpted gowns and silhouettes, outfits that declared themselves before their wearers could. In comparison, Mandaba's look seemed to hold back, except it didn't. The denim was not denim at all, but silk muslin, printed and constructed to mimic it, a detail later noted by fashion websites. The simplicity, in other words, was carefully engineered. Mandava, who was raised in Hyderabad in southern India, was discovered in a New York subway station in 2024. She later told British Vogue that the outfit was a way of carrying that memory forward, transforming the clothes tied to her discovery into something more elevated but still recognisably hers. And that's all from me. You have been listening to Apna Radio 93.9 Dublin South FM.
Thank you so much indeed, Charmaine, for a lovely item that you have actually covered the huge ground in terms of what's happening on the global scale and in India in terms of the NEET exams. That is the big issue. And of course, the crucial thing is the austerity measure that has been going on and recently been actually announced direct results of the Strait of Hormuz and the gas and oil shortage of that in India. I'll be talking about that later on as well. And also the Sharad has got a very good, input today about that. But I would like to play a clip from, before I play the austerity clip from Sharad, is our own Shashi Tharoor, the opposition leader of Congress Party, has very important things to talk about it. So there you go.
Namaskar, I'm Shashi Tharoor. Today, the nation pauses to mark a solemn milestone, the first death anniversary of a man whose silence often spoke louder than the clamour of our current political discourse. Our former Prime Minister, the erudite and deeply decent Dr. Manmohan Singh. It has been a year since we lost him, yet the void he left in the intellectual and moral landscape of Indian public life remains palpable. Dr. Singh was in many ways, in the famous phrase, an accidental politician, but he was a very conscious patriot. History will remember him, not merely as a technocrat who unshackled the Indian elephant in 1991, dismantling the license permit quota Raj, and ushering in an era of prosperity that allowed millions to rise from poverty, though that alone would be enough for one lifetime. It will also remember him as a transformative Prime Minister. We who had the privilege of serving with him remember him for something far rarer, his unflappable dignity. In a noisy democracy, he was a pool of stillness. He proved that one could be mild in manner, but made of steel in conviction, a truth best exemplified when he staked his government on the civil nuclear deal, securing India's place at the high table of the global powers. His decade as Prime Minister was not just about high growth, because that's something everyone talks about. It was also about the architecture of rights, the right to information, the right to education, Manrega, the right to work, the right to food security. These were not just policies, they were the manifestations of a compassionate state, driven by a man who never forgot his own humble beginnings in Gah, in today's Pakistan. He once famously said, "History will be kinder to me than the contemporary media." Standing here 1 year after his passing, sitting here 1 year after his passing, I can say with certainty, history has not just been kind, it has been validating. Dr. Singh taught us that leadership is not about the volume of one's voice, the decibel level, but the veracity of one's vision. That substance we will always be grateful for. This is why, when I published my book, Our Living Constitution, a few months after his passing, I made it a point to dedicate the book in tribute to Dr. Manmohan Singh and his memory. Today we pay tribute not just to a former Prime Minister we lost this day a year ago, but to a gentleman statesman who served India with his head held high and his hands clean. Pranam, Dr. Singh. Om Shanti. Jai Hind.
Om Shanti, Dr. Manmohan Singh, and Jai Hind. Indeed, that is sums up a great statesman and a great leader, and our Prime Minister, previous Prime Minister, Manmohan Singh, whose anniversary is we are celebrating this, or commemorating this week, actually. Dr. Manmohan Singh has actually turned the clock around. Indeed, if you think about the economy and the liberalization of the country and things like that, that would be an extraordinary achievement. And what a decent gentleman he was, a silent man. His mannerism was in a noisy politics, as Shashi Tharoor talks about it. His appearance and a very softly spoken person, which is, I found it quite a lot actually in very wise people, that wise people are normally not very loud. They are silently quiet people. And what they say and when they utter the words, they are words of wisdom. So that was Manmohan Singh. And indeed, that was something that is Shashi has, put together. And he felt very compelled about, talking about that. Now, moving towards what else is happening in India is something very disturbing. The austerity measure, as I said earlier on, when the country is what's cooking in Indian politics, no one knows. But the indication and the signs which has been sparkling right, left, and center is that we are aiming towards a war, a bigger war, austerity, saving dollars, not traveling abroad. All of that is being articulated by our PM, Modi ji. And why and how? Because Strait of Hormuz and the Middle East is something that is the elephant in the room. One must talk about it openly. It's not going to happen soon, but it will happen, in a near future, would I say. Because India is aligning themselves with itself, should I say, with the Zionist entity of the world, Netanyahu, and Israel has become the partner with India. And when partner in crime, should I say, or partner in politics or whatever, the global geopolitics, a partner in geopolitics is the correct word to describe that. Why? Because the rest of the world is aligning towards the peace, whereby India is aligning towards a war. And that is an alarming factor that is now creating a big problem. Yes, Strait of Hormuz is a big thing. And there's a lot of things going on in the Middle East. And, there's no more peace process at the moment. Peace, or so-called the ceasefire, has been announced earlier on. So what is happening exactly if in 2 months war, 3 months war, a gruesome war between Israel, America, and Iran directly. So UAE, as you know, is very much part and parcel of the, equation with the India and with Israel, because Israel has become partner with UAE. And UAE has become the hub for the investment for the Israel as well. So billions and trillions of dollars has been invested, and therefore they have been providing the the nuclear, the shield, not nuclear, but the shield to protect the missiles and drones from Iran. Now, why in the Middle East, which was a peaceful place, prosperous place, and huge Indian investment, personnel and businesses were being thriving in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and the construction industry and all that, all being ripped apart. Why our leaders did not have a vision to understand where to align? Do they have to align towards a fatherland, as we've been told in a last visit to Israel, our PM Modi ji? What fatherland we're talking about? Iran has got historical relationship with India, not from today, but centuries. Iran has been kind to India, providing oil, cheap oil, at the time when there was an oil shortage. Now, it's all other way around, because they're not going to give a crude oil for nothing, and they're going to scrutinizing the Indian ship, and there will be restrictions already creating havoc. The gas and the cylinders and supply for the crude oil and jet fuel is the next one that I'm going to talk about. The jet fuel is creating a huge problem, because jet fuel has relating now to the fact that local flights and the local prosperity, the people were frequently flying to the Middle East and to the Far East, to Europe, and within India, is come under the heavy austerity. So there you go. This is a wonderful news that I've got this morning. And so therefore, I would like to play that. Sit back, relax, and listen to this, please.
Alarm, with major airlines now sending what they describe as an SOS message to the government over rising fuel costs. The Federation of Indian Airlines, which represents Air India, Indigo and SpiceJet, has written to the Ministry of Civil Aviation seeking urgent intervention. So why exactly are airlines raising this alarm? Airlines say aviation turbine fuel, or ATF, has become extremely expensive, making flights much costlier to operate. Fuel alone now accounts for nearly 60% of airline operating costs, which the industry says is unsustainably high. They're also flagging a pricing gap between the domestic and international aviation fuel, saying fuel for international operations has become far more expensive. On top of that, taxes such as excise duty and state VAT on aviation fuel are further pushing up costs for airlines. Because of these rising expenses, airlines say they are losing money and struggling to maintain operations. And if the situation continues, the industry is warning that airlines may be forced to reduce flights, ground aircraft, or cut certain routes, which could ultimately mean fewer flight operations and possibly higher fares for passengers in the coming months. The ripple effects could be significant, along with reduced connectivity across cities, disruption in flight schedules, and a broader hit to India's aviation growth story. So as an immediate relief, the FIA has actually proposed 3 key steps. First, temporary suspension of the 11% excise duty on ATF. Second, introduction of the crack band pricing mechanism to stabilize fuel rates. And third, reduction of VAT across major aviation hubs. In a strong warning, the industry body has said that any further irrational spike in ATF prices could lead to unsurmountable losses, forcing airlines to ground aircraft and cancel flights. With additional pressures like rupee depreciating and rising input costs, airlines are now calling for urgent, coordinated government action to stabilize the sector before the situation spirals into a full-scale operational crisis.
Full-scale operational crisis is the word that have been talked about. It is that how a beautiful, country like India, which was thriving internal aviation industry, catching up flights from A to B, from Mumbai to Delhi, Delhi to Madras, to Chennai, which is now Chennai, and so on and so forth. A frequent traveling, expansion of the local airports, so many developments that was happening in the world from south to north to east to west. And India, what is happening? Why is the madness of this fact that you have not understood or deliberately you want to ruin the development and the prosperity that India was been enjoying? Who is behind that? And you have to search your soul to understand that. I think it's not that difficult to actually come to a conclusion who is behind that. Again, Fatherland is, I would point it out to, who is increasingly meddling their affairs in India. And that is not acceptable. And I would pay attention to this point to every listeners to say that they should understand that India is not for sale for those countries. India is very, cautious when it comes to dealing with the foreign countries and who to deal with and who not to deal with. But, pulling punches and having animosity towards the long-time partner, Iran, with the all resources of oil and gas, Qatar, UAE, all of those countries are being very, very, very close to India. if you're developing some sort of a tension with them, if you're lining up with the wrong actors or the global geopolitical actors vis-a-vis America and Israel, then these things will happen. And this is a common equation and a very simple understanding of the matter, is that you got to understand who are your foes and who are your enemies. Who you are suggesting or thinking that they are your friends and not your enemies will be already proving austerity and difficulty for a common man. But then again, who cares about the common man? This is a sad aspect of political life of India. Anyway, that's a very deep question, and I will be talking about that some other time, because I will revisit this issue, the development and the relationship between India and Israel. Anyway, that is something further to talk about it and to discuss some other day. But today, sit back, relax, and listen to two major operations that has been going on in India.
Last week, India had been in a turmoil. There is an economic undercurrent about which the government is not giving clarity. How the Treasury is dealing with the oil shock and the Strait of Hormuz blockade. There has been a sort of declaration by the Prime Minister of India to undertake austerity measures, and those range from buying less gold, limiting foreign travels, using less fuel, using public transport, consuming less edible oil. And in the speech, the Prime Minister conveyed a message of austerity which is reminiscent of the COVID era. The Prime Minister also asked people to work from home in order to save fuel and in return help save foreign exchange. But then there is a bigger underlying story. All these issues that have been mentioned by the Prime Minister, they are not only saving fuel for the country, it is also underscoring the failure of the strategic reserve for the fuel and the gas supplies. Now, gold has always been a reserve for India. Gold has been a reserve for domestic finances in India. It has been culturally attached to the safety net, financial safety net of India, of Indian households. So the very fact that the Prime Minister is touching upon the traditions, the culture, and a deep-seated sense of security that the gold brings, it only reflects that there is something very serious going on with the Indian economy. And more so, the problem is because the government is not clearly coming out with the facts on the ground. While the Prime Minister sort of demanded public austerity, he continued with the state spectacle. His convoy has roughly 50 to 100 vehicles, and they are seen on the road. He was in an air show display, and this, you should remember, the Indian Air Force display of strength was not an occasion of National Day. It was over the Somnath temple. These air shows also consume aviation turbine fuel, which is one of the most costliest imported energy products. So Prime Minister is seen enjoying that air show. And that is where the symbolic austerity loses its moral legitimacy, when the state itself does not visibly reduce its expenditure. This is not walking the talk. India imports roughly 700 to 900 tons of gold annually. And when they process the gems and jewelry, this sector employs roughly 4.5 to 5 million workers directly, and these are small-time skilled labor. And if we are talking about reducing the gold import, we are directly hitting these 5 million small-time workers of India. And remember, the biggest casualty out of the lockdown during COVID and the sudden lockdown, as the Prime Minister did, the biggest casualty were these small-time workers. These direct workers then subsequently affect at least 1 million dependent workers on retails, logistics, packaging, and wedding services. So India may be one of the largest gold consumer, accounting for roughly 20 to 25% of the global household gold demand. But this direct impact in the name of austerity on the Indian household is going to affect severely not only the household in the long run, but also the industries attached to the gold sector, the rural artisans, the goldsmith community, the weddings linked in the local economies, small jewelry shops. we should also understand that declaration of this austerity came immediately after the elections are over. On 28th of February, when the Iran war broke, Indian bureaucrats, Indian leadership should have known what kind of shocks are coming in, both economically and socially. I hope they had some forecasting models with them, but there wasn't any word of caution at the time. And after 78 days since the war has started, the Prime Minister wants austerity. While other countries across the world, including our poor neighbors like Sri Lanka, Philippines, Australia, they have already taken umpteen measures to reserve their resources, to safeguard their strategic resources. While on the other hand, Indian ministries have been coming out trying to give a confidence that everything is fine. But then it is not. We have seen mass movement of small-time workers from Gujarat back into villages of Bihar, Bengal, Odisha, because the factories that are into ceramics and into tile making in Gujarat have shut down for shortage of gases. Now the crisis is already there. It is just that the Prime Minister is speaking now. And in a very dramatic way, the panic is now setting in. We all know that India imports over 80% of the crude oil. But then when our ministers travel with a convoy of 20 cars, 30 cars, and in yesterday's case, a small-time chairman of Madhya Pradesh Textbook Corporation was appointed. He traveled with large 50 SUVs all the way from Ujjain to Bhopal, which is like some 100 miles, with all his supporters, as if he has won the war. Even Trump doesn't travel with such a big convoy. And this is just a day after when his party's chief and Prime Minister of this country had asked for austerity. So what we are seeing here is an impact on the middle class, but the elites are not touched by this declaration of austerity. Is it we are touching patriotism? I don't think so. Patriotism would have been when on 20th February the war started. The Prime Minister and his cabinet ministers would have given multiple rounds of press conferences, assured the public that our strategic fuel, strategic gas, domestic supplies are intact as part of our strategic planning. What we are seeing all this while is not a single press conference by the Prime Minister, not a single press conference, and especially the Petroleum Minister. The gas prices, both commercial and the domestic, have gone up. So where is the strategy? And everything cannot fall on the middle and the poor class of India. As it is, Indian government is feeding half, rather more than half the population of this country. That means they are technically below poverty line. It's a different matter that the poverty line has been reduced so low that it is not able to justify free food, the 800 million families that the government is serving. So there are so much of inconsistencies. There is so much of discrepancies in the claim by the Prime Minister of India, by the government, and by the realities on ground, that one cannot make out any sense of the economic situation, about the stability of the government, of the stability of the economic. We are in an economic shock. There is an oil shock. So logically, who should be addressing the nation on a frequent basis? We see Donald Trump talking about the prices of gas in United States, while they are one of the largest producers of oil in the world as we stand now, when they include Venezuelan reserves. We see the British Prime Minister, the German Chancellor, the French Premier talking about their strategic reserves, about the cost of living crisis in their countries very frequently, much more than 7 days a week. And how many times have we seen our finance minister, our petroleum minister, our foreign minister, and of course our prime minister talk about the current crisis due to the US-Israel war on Iran? Don't they know that the gems and jewelry contribute around 7% of India's GDP estimates in broader calculations? And the bureaucrats or the leaders, political leaders who have written the speech for the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, they had not taken into account that much of the exports to United States are in shape of gems and jewelries from India. Much of the exports of India to Britain under the free trade agreement is in gems and jewelries. What is the consequences of this kind of austerity when the 7% of India's GDP have been targeted? And what is the amount of collection, the GST losses that we are trying to undertake when the Prime Minister is attacking the consumption of edible oils, of gold, of foreign travels? What is the political narrative that is being given to people of India? And we should also remember, not too long ago, this was the same Prime Minister and his government talking about Mangal Sutra politics. The same party rather accusing the opposition about wealth redistribution, about the gold surveys. Now the same political system run by this government discouraging gold accumulation, which have been a symbol of Hinduism, which have been a symbol of India. While we are talking about the austerities, the road shows are continuing, mass rallies are continuing, grand ceremonies are continuing, and the high security mobilization of the VIPs, of the politicians, that is going on. And on 15th of May, the Prime Minister is taking a 5-nation tour to Sweden, Norway, Italy, UAE, and Netherlands. Not in that sequence. And one very interesting fact I must share today. On the 12th of May, NTA, National Test Agency, which conducts the NEET exam, the National Eligibility and Entrance Test for medical students in India, they had cancelled the exam, and this has directly affected 2.2 million students and their careers. And you know what? Last 10 years, if you take, the number of students who have been affected because of the failure of this government to conduct a robust exam without a paper leak, the number of students are more than the population of these 5 countries where the Prime Minister of India is visiting next. It's a grand Indian shame. While the Indian government can hold cricket matches, IPL matches, when the country is on high alert and had undertaken Operation Sindhu last year, this year, this same government is not able to conduct a pre-medical exam, NEET entrance exam, for 2.2 million students. And these students come from poor families with very high aspirations. And to work for NEET exam, the National Eligibility Test exam, it takes at least 2 years of hard work of 16 hours, 18 hours a day. I know children who do not sit under the fan during hot summer weather because it will put them to sleep. There are children who eat once a day so that they can save money to travel to their exam centers. The country is already living under the crisis of education. The country is already living under the crisis of social economics. The country is already living under the crisis of Iran oil shock. That the country is already in austerity. So what is the real story behind this great speech about austerity? Dollar value is already beyond 95 rupees. Our strategic reserve of fuel and gas was supposed to be unshakable, but it doesn't look to be. India's friendship with Iran had been shattered, and all the investment that India did with Chabahar port had gone waste. If Chabahar port would have been operational under Iran-India friendship, the gas and the petroleum crisis of India would not have been even a mention. We had just let our friendship go waste. That is the kind of strategy we are looking at. That is the kind of policies we are looking at with this government. So while these 2.2 million students of India, aspiring students of India, and especially the girls coming from poor family, the first thing the parents are going to do is remove them from school and put them into a queue for marriage eligibility. Their career is gone. And out of 2.2 million, even if one girl child loses the dream of becoming a doctor, a dream of saving a life, is one career too much for all the nonsense, for all the poor management. It's a grand Indian shame. To those parents whose children will not be able to appear or have lost the opportunity in this exam, it is not about the politics. It is not about whom you have voted for. It is about asking for accountability, that how come for last 10 years, more than 100 paper leaks have happened and not a single conviction in this justice system. And to those who are going through the austerity ever since, do we have confidence in the Indian currency? Do we have confidence in the institutions that are running the country, like the National Test Agency for the students, like the Food Quality Control Agency, FSSAI, like the Election Commission of India? Do we have full confidence in these institutions? And finally, do we have confidence in our grand leadership at the national level? This question is not to the voters of a particular political party, because austerity is hitting everyone, whether you are a pro-BJP or you are not. The failure of the National Test Agency, the 2.2 million students losing their aspirational opportunity, they belong neither to BJP nor to any other party. They are the future of India. That's it from me this week. Stay safe, stay informed, and dutifully ask question. Bye for now.
Dublin South FM. You wouldn't buy a car without knowing its history. So why would you buy a story without knowing who's telling it? Come here and I tell you. It's not always easy to verify what you see, read, or hear. But now there's help. Visit www.bemediasmart.ie. Stop, think, check. Be Media Smart. Brought to you by Media Literacy Ireland, supported by RTE.
93.9 Dublin South FM.
Indeed, welcome back to the programme, and what an in-depth analysis that Sharad has put together about the two major crises that India is facing at the moment. And look where we come from in the last, literally in the last few years. It was unimaginable that the country was thriving, country was doing so well. Everybody is sort of like happy and everybody was working away. And now there's this kind of crisis, this kind of austerity, this NEET exams cancellation, aviation crisis, and endless problems that the nation is facing. What next? Everybody would ask. And that's what I have tried to hint at you in this program, that next is a war. India will enter the war. India will enter and join Americans and the other player who are trying to open up by force the Strait of Hormuz. But do they little know that that is under control of Iranians, and Iran is not going to budge on that because it has been suffering under the sanction for a long time, for nearly 50 years, 60 years since the country has been, achieved the revolution and was successful in achieving that. And now the country is the fourth largest superpower after Japan, China, and not Japan, so America, China, and Europe. And after that is the Iran, who has become the superpower because they have proven in the world that their war capacity, their capacity to manufacture, drones and missiles is second to none, and it's all domestic. They're not buying it from foreign countries. UAE is actually buying it from Israel, and that is sad a state of affair because they themselves don't do anything, and therefore opportunity for the Israelis to move into Middle East in a big way. And now the battle is to the control of the Middle Eastern oil and wealth, gas and oil and things like that. So this is going to pan out in a big way. And it will, the wonderful arrangements that we had, such arrangements such as Chaharbar Port in the south of India and all that, that has all been thrown away in the bin because that is something, a sad state of affair. Anyway, it's a very, very gruesome picture emerging from our homeland, our motherland, should I say, and thanks to our fatherland, in fact, who's been patronizing our leaders and playing pally-wally and a courteous relationship and all that. And that is not going to improve the condition of the Indians. And so therefore, I'm sad to say that where we have reached and reaching is very, very, very sad at times ahead of. Yes, I mean, the temperature is rising 40 degrees in Delhi and UP and most of the India is burning and boiling in terms of heat. And imagine if the energy crisis on top of that is creating another tension in people's minds. So the life expectancy is going to go down. People will be more annoyed. And, The answer is not, deja vu type of Dhurandhar type of pictures that we are making now. And going back to this cinema industry, my industry, where I belong to, just to mention that we are back in September to do the film festival, the 17th Indian Film Festival of Ireland, which will be from 11th to 13th of September. And this will be the 17th edition, with likely to be opening up with a film called Ikkis. Ikkis means 21, and it's a film by SIRAJ Raghavan, who might be appearing in Dublin, attending the film festival, alongside with some cast members. That's all I can say. We are working on it at the moment, and the more clarity will emerge, despite the fact that we are suffering from air travel problems and things like that. All of that is going to create a big interest in the film festival this year. This year will be a different festival than previous years, but it will be a dhamaka. That's all I can say. With a lot of films, a lot of culture item on the gala night, the glamorous night that we try to actually do every year in the middle of the festival, and indeed enjoy the screening and talks and discussion and all that. So many things are happening, and in the future and the next few months, I will be talking regularly about the new films that we are selecting, the new shows that we'll be conducting. But before that, there's another show that is around the corner. Is on the 20th of June is the show of Summerfest. And Summerfest is the show of first time in Dublin. Ayushman Events are bringing Sunny Leone in town. And Sunny Leone as a DJ, she is performing as a DJ on the Leopardstown Racecourse on the 20th of June. And yours truly will be there at this stage, gracing the occasion and launching the Summerfest. It's a one-day thing, but could possibly be translated into further down the line into more days, vis-a-vis on the 31st of December, a New Year Eve. This could be another big event by same crowd who is organizing this particular crowd. So all the best to Ayushman Events. Please buy the tickets. Tickets are selling fast, and no more backstage, as you have seen the ad and all that. There's going to be a strictly monitored, and Gardaí will be there to protect the crowd and all that. And we're expecting, we're turning the Dublin into, Wembley and all that. So this is going to be a fantastic opportunity to enjoy this open-air Sunny Leone concert, Summerfest concert at the Leopardstown Racecourse on the 20th of June. So there is a bit of a piece of information and a piece of, should I say, taste of the concert. So there you go. So it's not only the Sunny Leone, it's also the Punjabi MC and DJs and lots of famous musicians who will be performing it. But with all that, I am in the mood to play now my first track, which is also the all-time hit that I play here in the program every week. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this particular track by Muhammad Rafi.
आजकल तेरे मेरे प्यार के चर्चे हर ज़बान पर सबको मालूम है और सबको खबर हो गई आजकल तेरे मेरे प्यार के चर्चे हर ज़बान पर सबको मालूम है और सबको खबर हो गई।
तो क्या आजकल तेरे मेरे प्यार की चर्चे हर ज़बान पर, सबको मालूम है और सबको खबर हो
हमने तो प्यार में ऐसा काम कर लिया, प्यार की राह में अपना नाम कर लिया। हमने तो प्यार में।
That is something very interesting song, and Darde Dil, Darde Jigar. There's another song that I'm going to play next in the line of today's songs. Again, beautiful song and a beautiful nostalgic songs about love. Indeed, without love, what is life? This is always my motivation and motive to talk to you every week. And because you love me, I love you, wherever you are in the world and wherever you're tuning me in from. So that is something very, 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 dear to my heart. And I try to actually entertain you with the songs and the great heritage, the rich heritage that our Indian film industry has given to us, and we try to emulate that in our lives, in our daily lives. I don't know how many people you are listening out there regularly. I'm going to give you a fantastic clue of a particular radio station. Not many people know it's been existing for many years, but not many people know that. As the book was written by a British actor, not many people would know that. Forgetting his name. Anyway, that radio station is called the Radio Garden. Yes, it's an app, and you take that app. It's free. There's no hidden charges or anything like that. You can download that app, and indeed, whatever the station you fancy, you put your finger around the green dot of the globe. The full globe is on that app, and if you reach to your favorite city, you'll see that that city radio station will be blaring on your phone. So beautiful songs from Surat, from Jaipur, from Delhi, from Maharashtra, from Abu Road, many cities you probably would never heard of the name from. So all of that is very much available on your phone. In fact, doesn't matter where you're going. If you don't want to listen to RTE or radio, television or whatever local, then you can always listen to Radio Garden. And in your own language, yes, Marathi, Gujarati, Bhojpuri, Bengali, Punjabi, whatever you Pashto, if whatever the language you understand and enjoy, that is available on your app on your phone called the Radio Garden. Very simple to just Google it, radio, in your app store and download it. Radio Garden, beautiful songs. But I'm playing another song, and because the time is really kicking, and I really want to continue our show before I say goodbye, because really time is running out for me now to say goodbye to you. But here we go.
दर्दे दिल दर्दे जिगर दिल में जगाया आपने दर्दे दिल दर्द जिगर दिल में जगाया आपने। पहले तो मैं शायर था, पहले तो मैं शायर था, आशिक बनाया आपने। दर्द दिल दर्द जिगर दिल में जगाया आपने। दर्द दिल दर्द जिगर दिल में जगाया आपने।
That's it. And it's nearly time to say goodbye to you. I'm very, 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 very thank you very much thank you very much for tuning me in and listening me every week diligently and regularly. That's a lot of people do. And don't worry if you have missed my show. You can always catch me on my YouTube channel, Apna Radio, broadcasting at 93.9 Dublin South FM. So that's it for today, and I will leave you with this fantastic music and this song. I'll be back same time, same place next week. Don't forget to tune me in. Have a great weekend.
हो गई तन्हाइयाँ कब कहाँ सब खो गई जितनी भी थी परछाइयाँ उठ गई यारों की महफिल हो गई तन्हाइयाँ क्या किया शायद कोई पर्दा गिराया आपने दर्द दिल दर्द जिगर दिल में जगाया आपने दर्द दिल दर्द जिगर दिल में जगाया आपने और थोड़ी देर में बस हम जुदा हो जाएंगे और थोड़ी देर में बस हम जुदा हो जाएंगे आपको ढूंढूंगा कैसे